Hello and welcome. My name is Miriam, and this is the third video in the sketchbook course I'm running here during the summertime. In this video, I will show you a little bit about composition and working with a limited color palette. So hang on there and let's get started. So to begin with, I will just make some very light lines across the paper. Two here, one on the upper part and one in the lower, and two lines here. This is just to have an idea of where to put our motifs on the paper to make the composition interesting. So it will be good to have something here in these crossings. So I think I will just begin to draw, and I want to draw some pears in this painting. You could do the same, just follow along. Doesn't require a lot of drawing skills to make these shapes. And I believe I want to have 3, an uneven number in this painting, also to make the composition more interesting. And we could put the last one. And I have to remember also that I want a quote in here as well. So I could consider where I want to put that, perhaps up here in this area. And I just have this little paint bottle, and I just use that to draw a circle, because then we will write our words inside the circle like that. Didn't look very even. So you can just use what you have. If you want your quote to fill some more, you have to make a larger circle, and think about that in your composition. And then I want the last pair in here somewhere. Just do it like this. And I also have a rubber here to help me, just to get the line straight. And then to add a little interest also in the painting, I think I will add some little branches with leaves, and they couldn't just go in here and lead the way into the painting. So I will just draw that in, and then I will show you the finished sketch. So now here's a close-up of the sketch, and the next thing to do is to write a quote inside this. And I'd just like to mention that if you do not want to paint some pears, feel free to paint something else. I'm just going to show you a method on how to paint these and decorate the whole thing. So for the quote inside this, I'll just remove the lines in there. You can, to help you where you want to put your letters, you can make some lines. Then you know where to place your letters. I'm going to write, "Love is a fruit in season at all times," and I will follow these. And I'm just using my own letters, what I like, And you can do the same. And you can see here at the top, I let the letters hit the top of the circle. And I will just continue with that, and then I'll be back. So now I have finished writing my quote in the circle. You can see that looks quite interesting. And before I put paint on, I will write in these letters before I start the painting, and then remove the pencil lines, because else it can be quite difficult to get rid of. Once the paint has hit the paper, it's very difficult to remove pencil lines. So yeah, that's just a very good idea. So I will pick up my ink pen. I got a number 0.54 here, and then I will just start writing in the letters. And I will also remove these very light pencil lines I drew in to begin with, so we will not have that in our painting. Here are a color example of what we're going to use in this painting. And I've chosen an indigo from Core, an indigo from Daniel Smith. And if you don't have this, you can always use Payne's Gray. That's very good as well. Then I have a burnt umber and a burnt orange. If you prefer to use some other colors, feel free to do that, because this sketchbook is supposed to represent you and the colors you love. But of course, if you've not tried these colors before, it could be a nice experiment just to see how that will work. But it's up to you what you want to use. Let's get started with the painting. And I will begin with this first pair, and I will just wet it with my brush. I'm using a size 6 watercolor brush. And then I will pick up some of my burnt orange from the pan, and I will just go along the line here, the edge, and let the paint flow in. Depending on your paper, the paint will flow less or more. On this paper, the paint don't flow that much, so I'm just helping it a little bit. And then I will use my indigo from Daniel Smith on the other side. And you have probably noticed that pears are not in these colors in natural life. But you know, that's the fun about painting. You are the artist and you decide the colors. And if you want your pear to be different colors, you can just do it as you please. So, we will just leave this and let it dry. And don't begin to paint this before the side here is dry, because else the paint will flow together and we don't want that. Let's continue with the next one. This one is dry, so I can work on this one now. And I do the same as before. I wet the paper before I add paint. And then I will go in with my burnt umber I follow the edge again of the pear and just allow the paint to flow. Then I rinse my brush and just drag out some of the color to the rest of the pear. And then when we wait for this to dry, we can always start working on these leaves and branch over here. So I will just grab some of my indigo and paint those leaves in. If you prefer, you can choose a smaller brush. I will use a smaller brush to make the lines, because else they will be too thick. Then we can work on this one over here. And for that I will grab some of my burnt orange. Now I picked up a size 2 brush and I will use that to make these thin lines on the branches. Just let this dry completely and then we will continue with the next pair. For this one, again, I will wet it. Oops. Got a bit of orange on the brush, but no worries. And for this one, I will drop in some of the indigo. This one likes to flow. That's because it's a core color. They really like to flow when you put them on a wet page. And I think I will drop in some of the orange as well. could also try and put in a little bit of water drops into the paint. See if it will make a little bit of effects. Or perhaps it's dried too fast, so. And then we can paint this part of the pear, and I will just use the Daniel Smith Indigo. And then we need to paint this as well. And we can go in with the indigo and that as well, the Daniel Smith. So now we got the color on for now. Perhaps we will add some later on. So the next step is to grab our ink pens. And we will decorate this with these ink pens. Before you start off with the ink pens, your painting has to be completely dry. I just found this one and I thought perhaps we could add some interest as well using this stencil on one of the pears. So I will just grab a little sponge. I've just cut up a sponge bought in the store. It's not a nature or natural sponge, but this is working quite well. So I'm just rubbing it on top of the stencil and we'll see what happens. Ooh, I really like that effect. And I'll just dab off any water. That was quite pretty, I think. And I think I will enhance the letters a little bit with a thicker pen. And you know, you could add dots next to the letter or add shadows on the letters as well if you feel like that. That could look quite pretty as well. And I'll grab my gold Posca pen. And here I want to make some lines on this one. Just sort of following the pattern in the paint. Like that. And I'll add some more, I believe. Over here we could add some dots. It's only your imagination that sets the limits on how you can decorate the pears and the painting. But go easy to begin with, so you work out how much you like, and perhaps you don't want that much on your painting, and that's completely fine as well. So I really love this, and I think I will add some little black dots on the leaves, if I can get this to work. Wow, I really love this. But perhaps we could add a little more paint and decorate with some paint as well. If you like it like it is, just keep it like that. I will just show you another thing you can do. And I will just make quite a watery mix of the indigo blue. A lot of water. We don't want the colors to be too strong. And then we can make little dots as well with this color. You could make the dots a little bit smaller if you prefer that, or perhaps in another color. I just want to show you some fun in your sketchbook. And when we practice in a sketchbook, it can give us lots of great ideas for a new painting, because you try out ideas and it's completely fine to make mistakes in sketchbooks. I have actually tried this painting like 4 or 5 times now before I found it perfect. So yeah, and I just want to encourage you to start using a sketchbook and try something new you don't usually do. If you want to loosen up in your painting, and perhaps you are missing some more creativity in your painting, this is a good way to experiment. But I would say that the painting is finished now. So I really hope you found this video useful, and that I will see you again in the next and the last video, where we will merge all these 3 videos together and create a larger piece of art on a piece of paper instead of using our sketchbook. So be well and see you in the next video. Bye bye.